Hello YouTubers, and welcome to my channel, the Virginia Bushcrafter. And if you haven't been to this channel before, this channel deals with bushcrafting, prepping, and survival skills. Now that is a very broad subject. Bushcrafting, prepping, and survival skills consist of many intricacies. And one of the intricacies that I want to talk about today is blade grind. That's right, B-L-A-D-E-G-R-I-N-D, blade grind. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because when I first started bushcrafting and prepping and so forth, I was buying knife after knife after knife, and I enjoyed them. I used them all. But it did not really strike me until one day I was going into the bush, and a couple drove up, and we started a conversation. I told them that I was going into the bush just to practice, and they said that's something they're interested in. And they asked me, what is the best knife to get for a beginner bushcrafter? Well, surprisingly, I was stunned. The only thing that I could tell them is that the best knife depends on you and the circumstances. So today, I want to talk about blade grind. And I'm going to demonstrate some of these for you. As a matter of fact, all of them. There are 4 major grinds: a flat grind, a saber grind, a hollow grind, and a convex grind. And there's also another one that's called a chisel grind. So what I'm going to do is talk to you about each one of these and show you an example of each grind. So let's dive right into it. Okay guys, I hope you can see this well. This is a machete, and every cutting edge has a spine. As you can see the back, this is the spine, and they all have a belly, you can see, which is the cutting edge. Now you may hear individuals say the apex, 0 degree grind, but basically you may even hear them say bevel edge, which is what I use mostly. So I want to start off with this. It's very simple. This machete is a full flat grind because starting from the spine of the blade, it is tapered all the way down to the edge bevel. And if you notice, when it gets to the edge bevel, there is an angle change which lessens. And this angle change is called the bevel edge, because it actually comes to a 0 degrees, which is the cutting edge. So again, spine of the knife, a full flat grind, the bevel edge, which is the cutting edge, and you see. And this is also known as a straight drop. I'll get into that on another video. So that is the first flat grind. Now, this is the only knife that I have that is a full flat grind of this size. This is an 18-inch machete that I've used before. Now, the thing about it, one good thing about it, it's very strong because there's no metal that's been removed here. And this flat grind is excellent in slicing. And you will see a lot of these in the kitchen. The con that I have with this is that I tried batoning with this, practicing before I go into the bush, And what I learned is that when you start batoning into the wood, it gets stuck because there's a lot of drag, and this is a flat grind, just a smooth, a flat grind. So again, the spine, 90-degree spine, a full flat grind, the geometry or angle does not change until you get to the beveled edge. And this actually comes to a 0-degree grind. So that's the full flat grind. I want to show you a kitchen knife. This is a full flat grind, and it's a kitchen knife. And that, as you can see, again, you have your spine, you have a full flat grind, and it tapers, it stays 90 degrees all the way until you get to the beveled edge. Let's see, the beveled edge right there. That is the cutting edge. And again, these are very strong. Tomatoes and grapes, onions, they don't stand a chance against this full flat grind knife. Now I want to show you one that is called high flat grind. This knife is a 7-inch knife, and it says it's a high flat grind, but let's go over it. Again, guys, we have the 90-degree spine. The spine is from the heel of the knife all the way to the toe of the knife. The heel, the toe. And this is a straight point. So, guys, if you notice, again, it goes at a 90-degree angle. That is the flat grind. But then you have the primary bevel right in here, because this is where the angle changes. And the angle gets steeper and steeper as you go down to the micro bevel or the bevel edge or the apex or the 0-degree, whatever you want to call it, and you have it right there. So this is a flat grind with a double bevel. The primary bevel, because the angle changes, and you have the micro bevel or the bevel edge, because this is the cutting edge. And again, these are very strong knives because there's no metal that's removed. Now this knife I have batoned with. I've done everything with this knife. And the reason I like batoning with it is because when you start splitting the wood with this bevel edge, the wood starts to split because this angle increases in width, and then it goes to a 90 degrees. So this helps split the wood. So that's, and again, very strong knife. It does not get stuck in the wood. So now, guys, the next knife blade I'm going to explain is a Saber Grind. A Saber Grind actually is one of my favorites. So this is a 10-inch knife. It is actually a knife, not a machete. So let's look at the same thing. Now, let me just explain something to you. You may hear individuals say, this is a V grind. Well, it's a Saber grind and a V grind. So let me explain. Here we have the spine from heel to toe. And if you look at this portion here, that is a flat grind. But this portion right under here, that is the primary bevel. And the metal is grind all the way, it is tapered all the way down to the beveled edge, which is a 0-degree angle. The good thing about this knife is that when you start to split or chop, when this beveled edge starts to split the wood or break the fibers, it sinks into the wood even more so, because this angle is increasing. And once you get to this edge, the primary bevel, it assists in splitting the wood. Now, the thing about this, I have 3 different angles on here. Here at the tip end, I have a 22-degree angle. In the main belly, I have a 20-degree angle. And in this area, I have an 18-inch angle. And the reason I do that, because I use this portion for carving and feather sticking. This is a good chopping. Here, I just may want to stab into a tree or something, so it's thicker. So this is just a Saber Grind. Now, why do some people call it V grind? If you look at it from the front, you will see how the sides are tapered in an upward position in the form of a V. So that is why, let's see if you got, that is why this is called, some people call it a V grind, and that is correct. So it's either a Saber grind and or a V grind. Now, the thing about this, what I really like about this knife, the thicker the steel on the part of the blades, the Saber Grind is strong. This blade can drag into deep cuts of the wood, because there's a lot of metal, and the metal only increases as it goes up. So this is a very strong knife, and military uses something of this nature. So that's a Saber Grind, V grind, and again, quickly, spine, you have a flat grind here, and if you notice in here, it's primary bevel, the metal, the angle is tapered all the way down to the beveled edge, which becomes 0, and that is your cutting edge. Okay, let me show you another one. This is also a Saber Grind, V grind. Smaller knife, but 1/4 inch spine. You have more of a flat grind here. If you notice, the flat grind is a little larger here. So you have your flat grind, you have your main bevel here, because it starts to taper. And it tapers to the secondary or the bevel edge right in here, and then you have the cutting edge. And if you look at it from this view, you can see it is a V, in the shape of a V. And again, this is a very strong knife. It's 5 inches. I consider this a medium knife, and I'll go over that. Again, this is a drop point because the edge somewhat goes down, but I'll talk about that on another video. But again, Saber Grind, very good blade. The next one that I'm going to speak of is one that is, it is a hollow, no, it is, now I'm going to speak of the Scandinavian Grind. These are Bushcrafters' favorite grinds. Now, The Scandinavian Grind, it only has one bevel, and that is it. Again, we have the spine from the heel to the toe. We have a flat grind all the way to the primary bevel and the only bevel, because from this point it goes straight down and there is no bevel edge. It goes from the primary bevel to the edge. And the dynamite thing about this, when you start to baton and splitting wood and so forth, it's very comfortable for woodwork. For example, like making feather sticks, it is very easy to sharpen. You just basically take a sharpening tool, put it to the grind, and you go. Now, of course, this is not a sharpening tool, but that's just a quick demonstration. But also, there's less drag when you start to use this. This particular blade is all steel. Now, this knife is a Scandinavian grind as well. And you may hear a lot of people say Scandi Grind. And again, from heel to toe, 90-degree angle, we have a flat grind all the way to the primary bevel, straight to the edge. There's no secondary bevel on a Scandinavian grind. And again, less drag, great. This knife is a great utility knife. I should be able to do anything with this knife that I do with any other knife. But this, one of the difference in these blades are, one is steel, one is carbon steel. The one that is steel, this one requires less maintenance. You can sharpen it, it holds its edge much longer, and it does not rust. This blade is carbon steel. It's a 1095 carbon steel. This blade will rust if you don't maintain it. And the thing about it, it requires more maintenance. A carbon steel blade will roll, it will bend somewhat, roll, as opposed to a steel blade that will chip. And I'll show you something about that. But here again, Scandinavian Grind, or Scandi, that is a flat grind with a primary bevel that goes directly to the edge. And these are all around knives. Very good knives for utility work, making notches, feather sticking, shaving bark, especially with a 90-degree angle. The next knife that I want, next blade, excuse me, that I want to talk about, somewhat of my favorite, is a convex. A convex blade is more or less, well, primarily used for chopping. Now, let's look at this kukri. This is a 12.6-inch blade. And again, look at the thickness of this spine. Now, let's examine this blade. Here, you have a flat grind. Just above, this is called a chera. This is where metal has been grinded out. And this helps to balance. So we have a flat grind here. We have metal removed here. And this makes me think that this could also be called a hollow grind. But anyway, we come out of this hollow grind and we have a main bevel. The main bevel. And this is now tapered. Think of a football. This is tapered in a roundish manner. A convex. If you notice, it just goes all the way around. There is no bevel edge. So let's if you can see from here, the blade actually goes out. Just think of a football. And the reason that it's like this is because it has a lot of strength. This blade arches down. It arches down into a convex curve towards the edge. And this has a lot of steel in the middle of the blade, putting extra steel between behind the edge, which is reinforcing and strengthening the edge because there's a lot of metal. It's not going to roll. And this is for chopping. And however, you still can feather stick. You should be able to do just about anything as you would. You still can carve with this. This is a great tool. So this is a convex edge. And again, one of the disadvantages of this, it's difficult to sharpen. I use what is called a strop. I put rouge on the strop on both ends, and one side of the strop is for roughness and the other side of the strop is for the fineness. So if you notice, a lot of now some people have taken the edge and made a bevel edge, but I refuse to do that. It came as a convex edge, it's going to remain as a convex edge, and it is going to continue to chop. Now, here is another convex edge, convex blade. Let's look at the thickness of the spine, but on this one, it starts to round out. And this is, I assume it rounds out because you won't damage your baton when you're batoning, but that's not a big issue to me. But let's look at the flat grind, the main primary bevel. And after the bevel, it tapers straight into the edge. No bevel edge. And this is strength. You're not going to deal with rolls and so forth. This is a carbon steel 1075. I'll get into that into another video. But this is a knife. It is 10 inches. So to me, 10 inches and over are choppers. 7 to 10 inches are large knives. 5 to 7 inches are medium knives. And 4 to 5 is a small knife, but I'll get into that later. But again, the flat grind, the main bevel, where the blade is tapered all the way around, just thinking of it like a football, straight to an edge, no bevel. Okay. I want to show you another knife. It is another kukri. Now with this kukri, this is a 10-inch blade. We have the spine, which is not a 90-degree angle. But what's different about this blade is that it has a flat grind. That's a flat grind all the way, almost all the way to the edge. It doesn't start changing until the very edge. Now, when I bought this, it was very dull. And I had it sharpened. And you can see where the sharpener started to put a beveled edge on here. And that's fine. This is a very good kukri. I like this thing. But guys, I always say go out and practice with it because the experience I had with this kukri, the first time I went into the bush with it, 2 days later, my hand was just sore, very, very sore. And what I found out is that with this kukri and many knives, the position of holding it. Now, if you notice on the handle, there's this ring. I take my hand, I put it here, and makes a big difference because I'm not thrusting, but here. But I love kukris. So the next blade that I want to talk about is a hollow grind. This is a hollow grind blade. Again, from heel to toe. And notice also the thickness of the spine here, but it becomes much narrow here. This is for punctuation and so forth, but that's a different subject. We have our flat grind. We have a high flat grind here. We have a bevel right here. Now, what is different from the other knives? This is a hollow grind, and you may hear some people say concave grind, because when you look at this, some of the metal has been grinded out right in here, but it's larger right in here at the bevel edge. And the purpose of that is for slicing. Now this full hollow grind, this helps reduce drag for shallow cuts and scraping and so forth. So when you start to split wood or cutting, this bevel is going to cut. You're not going to have any drag in here, and this is going to assist with the splitting. Now, the thing about this knife, this is a defense, hunting, and survival knife. It's a Bowie knife. If you notice, it has a choil here. Put your finger here, I can choke up on it. And I have taken this out into the bush. It works well, very well. So again, heel to toe spine, your flat grind here, your primary bevel here, right in here. Metal has been grinded out to make a hollow grind or a concave grind. And you have your bevel edge here, or if you want to call it your micro bevel edge, your apex 0 degrees, but that's what that is. Now, I want to show you something about a hollow grind blade. A hollow grind blade is not as strong as a convex or a saber grind. I think it's somewhat kind of equal, maybe a little less than a Scandinavian grind. But on this knife, again, we got our spine, heel to toe, straight point. We have our flat grind here. We have our main bevel. We have our concave here, or our hollow grind. And we have our bevel edge. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but right here, let's see if right there, the shiny portion is a roll. This is from batoning through a piece of wood with a knot. This would not have occurred with a convex grind because the convex grind has more supporting metal. So this is really, now you can baton with this, splitting wood. You can split wood, but you must be very careful to avoid the knots in the wood. So again, look at this right here. It rolled. I don't know if you can see it here, right in here, it rolled. But I like this knife so much that I even went and bought a second one. And I will be very, very careful with this one. No rolls whatsoever. I could not believe for the small amount of money how well this knife performs. But again, here, hollow grind, there's no drag right in here, or the concave grind. So now I want to show you a knife that the military Air Force uses. This is an LMF2 knife made by Gerber. It is a Saber Grind, heel to toe. Have you noticed how this becomes much more narrow in here? Now, we have a flat grind. We have our flat grind. We have our main primary bevel. And then we have the Saber Grind, because there's no hollow grind. No material is removed here. And then right here we have our bevel edge. And this is a very good knife. But let's look at the other side of the knife. Let's see if I can do this. Serrated edges. Now, let me just, I think it's easy if I do it this way. Yeah, your serrated edges. Now, why would a bushcrafter want serrated edges? Well, number one, these serrated edges, if it was used by the military, I think it's a good thing. But these serrated edges can be used as a saw, back and forth motion. So you have a saw, and also it cuts through very soft substances, things that are flexible, and things that can be crushed. You can use this on a can, on your food. Very good to have. But a little bit about this knife is what the military would use. And if you also notice, you can attach this and have this as a spear. But the military uses this because if a pilot is in a down plane, they can cut through the fuselage. Don't have to worry about getting shot. There's something to prevent that in here. But this is a Saber Grind with serrated edges. Now the thing about this, when batoning wood, when I go to, but if you notice, you don't see the serrations here, but you still can use this. You can see small, fine curls, but this is really for the left hand, because now you can see the serrations. They work much better that way. I've taken this into the bush. It works well, but again, I use it this way. So as you can see, it makes good curls. So let's see, let's talk about there is something called a Chisel Edge. And let's just see if I can find it. Okay, this is the last blade. This is actually a bayonet. It actually attaches to a firearm. Removing the sheath, this Chisel Grind only has, well, this one has two bevels. On one side, this is just strictly 90 degrees. There's no primary bevel on here, 90 degrees. The spine of the back actually has a saw here, and this portion of it actually cuts wire. Now, if you look at this side, we have a flat grind, primary bevel, and a bevel's edge here. I would almost think that this side could actually be a Scandinavian grind. Yeah, this is a flat grind. This side is a Scandinavian grind because it only has one bevel. That's it. And this is just a straight edge. So this is and they've said before that a chisel knife only has one side, which is a 90 degree. The other side can be anything. This could be a hollow grind, it could be a convex, it could be a saber grind. But this side, as you see this flat grind, this primary bevel starts here and it goes directly to the edge. There is no beveled edge. And this again is a bayonet, but you can use it in the bush. I have not used it in the bush, but I will. So guys, that's some of the things that I just wanted to go over with you about blades, because a blade is going to be one of your most important tools in the bush. As long as you have a good blade, whether it's a 26-inch axe all the way down, even with a 26-inch axe, still should be able to perform some of your, such as making feather sticks, things of that nature. Learning how to use your tools are important. From a 26-inch axe, and I'll put this back in the sheet, to a 13-inch hatchet. You should practice with every last one of them that you have before going into the bush. And don't make the mistake that I made, that barely practicing with this kukri, go into the bush and 2 days later have a sore hand because I am just slamming it instead of using it the proper way. So guys, I hope I've been helpful to you. Oh, one other thing I want to mention. Again, anything, the way I define it, anything over 10 inches, it's a chopper. 12.6 inches, this is a chopper, but I should be able to do everything else with it. 7 to 10 inches, to me that is a large knife. 7 to 10 inches is a large knife. 5 to 7 inches is a medium knife, and the thing about a medium knife is easy to carry. I can put it on my belt and so forth. Usually my kukri, my large knives are going to be in my rucksack. But with my knives that are 4 inches or less, I consider a small knife. Here's an example of a small knife. And this is a hollow grind with serrated edges. And this is more or less something that you can conceal, but I've used it in the bush before. So again, guys, what I would say to you, if you're a beginner, my thought would be buy a fixed blade Scandinavian knife. It is an all-around knife. You want to get a 4, preferably a 5-inch blade. So again, a Scandinavian knife. A Scandinavian knife, or Scandi. This is a 5-inch. Now the thing about this one, it is not a full tang, but you want to get a full tang. This is it's hollow. But let's look at the advantage of this. If I'm somewhere and I need water, I'm going to dip this into the stream and I'm going to have some water. It also has a fishing kit in it as well. But this is more or less called a stick tang because it's not a full tang. The blade is only inserted to maybe right here and so forth. But I would recommend, this is a full tang. As you can see, the blade goes all the way through. It's great for feather sticking because it's a Scandinavian grind, primary bevel, all the way to the edge. So as a beginner, my recommendation is a full tang, 4 to 5 inch Scandinavian blade, high carbon. With that said, I want to thank you all for coming to my channel. I hope I have been informative to you. So guys, hit the like button, leave me those comments so that we can continue to learn from each other. Share this video out to the community and subscribe to my channel by ringing that bell so that you will get all of my notifications when they drop. Looking forward to seeing you on the next video where I will talk more about the point of the blade. All right, YouTubers and community, I will see you next time. Thank you.